Greetings everybody, my name is Mike at FilmBoy24 and today it's all about sound film, specifically Ektachrome old school E160 Type A sound striped film. So what's all this mess? Well, this is 3 Super 8 sound cameras and I tried each and every one of them with this roll of film. This is an old school roll of Ektachrome E160 Type A, which is a tungsten balanced Sousa movie film. Now this particular roll had an expiration date of March of 1993, which means it was probably manufactured sometime in 91. Very old, almost 30 years old. Back in the early 70s, Kodak started putting sound striping along the edge of some of their movie film. Now this is a magnetic stripe, and they also put a balanced stripe on the opposite edge, sort of when it was being rolled, sort of to keep it from lopsiding. I think you could actually use that magnetic stripe in some instances, but the primary magnetic recording strip was opposite the perforations on the base side of the film, or the shiny side. What about using this stuff in today's world? Well, you can often get a decent, not great, but a decent image with some of this old film, especially Ektachrome. Kodachrome I don't have a whole lot of luck with, but this stuff, sometimes you can get a decent image if you develop it in color chemicals, sort of a modified E6 chemistry, which I don't typically do. You can even get some glimmer of color sometimes. Typically, it doesn't come out wonderful, but it can come out decent. I develop it as a black and white, typically a black and white negative, which is exactly what I did with this roll. Now, what I wanted to do was take these 3 cameras and 1 roll of film and essentially kind of test the cameras and their microphones as well. But I really wanted to see if you could still get a usable soundtrack off of this sound striped film. Now, I've tried this before, and I was not going into this very optimistic because I don't really usually have very good luck. And unfortunately, I wish I had better news for you today, but I don't, because I didn't have much luck with this roll either. So here's what I did. I started with my brand new Elmo 1012S, which is sound, XL for existing light, macro camera. My girls just got me this for Christmas. I love this camera. I noticed it does have one tiny issue. The switch for the 85 filter is missing, has come off. And there is a little bit of, look like a part you could see deep into the lens. However, when you throw the 85 filter out of the way, that part sort of floats out of the way, and it didn't seem to be that big of an issue. So I just covered it up, where the switch was, and went to work. Now, I've never, ever used this camera before, or the microphone, so I put fresh batteries in it, put fresh batteries in the camera, and I started with this one, and I put this roll of film in it. I filmed for about 20 feet, and then I put it in my little Shinnon 20 PXL, which simply shoots at 18 frames per second. And it is a fixed focus camera, and it's a run and gun. I love this camera, by the way, but I've never shot any sound film with it, so I wasn't sure if this little attached microphone would do anything. I filmed with this for maybe 5 feet, took it out, and then put it in a Canon 1014 XLS and attached this microphone, which is the original microphone, onboard microphones that used to come with these cameras as an accessory. Now, these cameras are 50 years old or older, so a lot of times what I've noticed is these wires on these microphones start coming apart. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that bad, so I put a fresh battery in it, put fresh batteries in the camera, fired it up, everything was running smooth, but I got no audio whatsoever out of this guy. So the last 25 feet of film, I got to chuck it. Or I can just keep it and check out my mug for 25 feet. At any rate, I should have tested this. After the fact, I took this microphone off the camera, plugged it into my little Tascam recorder, turned it on, and I got nothing out of it. So clearly, there's an issue with the wiring. So I'm very disappointed in the overall results. It sort of reinforces what I already kind of knew, that 30, 40, 50-year-old sound striped film, for me anyway, has just never really worked out too well. Now, I used to shoot tons of this in the 80s and 90s because it's a single system sound and it was amazing. I still love the old crackling sound that you used to get out of this stuff. It just doesn't work that way anymore. The only way I could really figure out whether it worked or not was to either put it in my projector or into my little editor, my little Elmo 912S editor, and run it through, which I did. I put it in the Elmo, which is sitting right next to me off camera, and the sound is awful. You can hear it, you can kind of make it out, you know it's my ugly voice, but that's about it. It's just crackly and broken up, even worse than what it originally was. So I can't even blame it on the fact that, sound striped film back in the 80s and 90s was just not that great anyway. So with that, let me show you the film. I'm only going to show you a very small portion of it so that you can kind of hear. I marry the film and the audio back together. Let me show you a quick clip and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, you see what I mean? Not so good. So, yeah, I'm not going to do a whole lot more harping on sound striped film. I'm not a big fan of it anymore. I don't know if I'm ever going to do much more with it. I have a lot of it still, Ektachrome and Kodachrome. I'll probably shoot it as a silent because it really didn't come out too bad. The actual picture came out, I'm pretty happy with it. In fact, I'm going to show you the rest of the entire roll. Skip through it if you'd rather not. It's basically just me standing there talking. So let me show you the rest of it really quick. the picture isn't too bad. You can get decent pictures, especially, this is actually what I'd like to call a fairly recent expiration date. 93 is really, in terms of E160, isn't that old. It's been around for a long time. So I'm pretty content with the picture. That's what you can expect in a black and white negative out of this stuff. One thing I do want to mention is, it's come up a couple of times in the comments. Anytime you render 18 frames per second with this video that I'm shooting right now at 30 frames per second, this film is going to suffer. It's going to suffer because this is intended to be projected at 18 frames per second. My render is at 30 frames per second, so the frames are, they're blended on the film. So it's not always super smooth, and it does ghost a little bit. But you have to understand, that's a result of my rendering. That's why I do Super 8 Sundays, which, if you're new to the channel, every Sunday I will showcase a small gauge film. Either one that I shot, developed, and scanned, or one that I simply developed and scanned, or more recently, one that I simply scanned. Like some old home movies that have interesting topics or interesting scenery or something like that. But you can render it in its native format, its native frame size, and its native frames per second. One more thing I want to touch on, my good buddy Frank sort of pointed me in the direction of something I had not ever seen before. It is Cinestill's 2-bath process ECN2. I am happy to say, thank you, Frank, I got it in the mail today. I'm going to try this, so stay tuned. I'm going to shoot some Vision 3, and we're going to develop it in this Cinestill ECN2 2-bath kit. Yeah, 2-bath kit. Let's see what it does. Let's see if it works. Really isn't that expensive. I don't remember the price, 30 bucks, something like that. And the way I use Developer, I make it last. So this would probably do, I don't know, at least 10 rolls of Super 8 film for me, because I'm cheap. At any rate, I hope you learned a little something about the old school sound striped film. I'm not a fan of it. Maybe you are. Do you have luck with it? How do you transfer it? I know anytime you try to transfer this stuff, at least for me, and you extract audio using a projector or an editor, you get that fluttering. I know Roger over at Movie Stuff sells a really cool sound module that you can point your projector at, and it counts the shutter movement. I don't know exactly how it works, but it helps to get rid of that flutter sound and the projector sound and all that stuff. It counts has something to do with your shutter cycles, the cycles. It knows when your shutter cycles, the flashes. I'll be looking at one of those pretty soon. If you like videos like this and you want to keep on seeing them, how about do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and do me one last favor before you leave, please. Punch that like button. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and if you've had luck with this kind of film, sound stripe, let me know, because maybe I'm doing something wrong. I do a lot of things wrong. And until next time, I'll see you on the next go around.